When on high the heaven had not been named, firm ground below had not been called by name, naught but primordial Aspu, their begetter, and Mamu, Tiamat, she who bore them all. Their waters comingly as a single body, no reed hut had been matted, no marshland had appeared, when no gods whatsoever had been brought into being, uncalled by name, their destinies undetermined. Then it was the gods were formed within them. The first 8 lines of the Enuma Elish as translated by Pritchard in 1969. Hey there, creatures, and welcome to Encounter This, a podcast exploration of the creatures from Pathfinder 2nd Edition and the lore that surrounds them.
Oh my, here we are for another episode of Encounter This. I am Freeman Humbaba Eyston. How did you know? How did you know?
Is that one of your 100 middle names?
It rhymes with Rumbaba, I noticed.
What is a rumbaba?
It's like a dessert of some kind, I think.
Oh.
I just know it. It's in my head somewhere. I don't know why I have it.
Just holding on to that one for later.
But pretty sure there's rum in it. Let's take a look at another episode of a creature that I can't pronounce, and by the reading list, looks like there's going to be a lot of words that neither of us can pronounce. Brought to you by my partner in crime, James Nimrod Kid. That's a name I know.
There you go.
Let's get into this. If you want to follow along, open up your bestiary number 3, page 112. And please tell me you know how to say this creature's name.
So, here's the fun part. This creature's name comes from a language that no longer really exists. So all we really have is speculation on pronunciation.
Oh, interesting.
And it is the speculation, according to Reddit, I believe, perfect source.
The most reliable of sources.
Yeah, is Girtablilu.
Girtablilu. Okay.
Yep. So this etymology specifically comes from R. Dana Rise on the Find the Path podcast subreddit. So thanks to Find the Path and the work they're doing over there.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, that's what I would have called it, Girtablilu. But it doesn't seem like there's any other options other than changing up syllable emphasis, I guess. But yeah, it's an odd one.
Yeah, and we'll get into that a little bit more when we hit the folklore and the mythology. Not too much, because again, this is a very this language is so dead.
Yeah. Okay. You were telling me off screen that this is quite the deep dive for you.
Yeah, I've been teasing it for the listeners for a while, just like letting them know that I'm doing smaller episodes because I've been working on something in the background. And this is it. This was a creature that I just picked out of the book because I thought it looked cool. And it turned into a deep dive into Babylonian culture, which I did not know.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's fun already. Okay, I'm into it.
Yeah, normally I'm big on the 40 minutes recorded, try and cut an episode down so it's that long, and it ends up being an hour with our banter. This is just gonna go as long as it takes, so we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
all right,
so
well, tell me about this weird thing that I don't even know what it looks like or anything about it.
Okay. Well, let's start there, shall we? It is just a jacked human on a scorpion.
Yes. Oh my god. I'm so happy right now. I did not expect this. Wow. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's absurd, but I like it.
Yeah, if our listeners know what a centaur is, the top half of a human, the lower half of a horse, it's exactly that, but it's the lower half of a scorpion, and it's not even the lower half, it's
100% of the scorpion. It has pincers, it
Yeah.
has the tail, it has 4 legs. The only thing it's missing is its face, and I think
its
scorpions
face,
have
yeah.
mandibles.
The mandibles, yeah. It's got everything else though, yeah.
Yep.
It's
and
awesome.
a large ass spear.
A very large spear. I'm getting the feeling that this is a pretty big creature too, making the spear much bigger than it might
Yep.
appear.
This
But
is a large creature.
It's
if I
pike
remember
territory
correctly.
here,
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the Girtablilu Sentry, and we'll also be talking about the Seer, because there are 2 creatures that appear in Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
Okay.
So
Cool.
we'll go over both of those stat blocks today, though they're only marginally different, melee versus caster, pretty much.
Sure.
But their ecologies, they're desert dwellers, so they're really only ever found in arid climates, specifically those with ancient temples. Their whole shtick is to guard ancient religious artifacts, and that's pretty much it.
Okay.
So they're
That's
believed
it.
by outsiders to worship their own ancient specific pantheon that doesn't actually appear in the Pathfinder gods section, because these
Okay.
creatures are that old, and they
Mhm.
protect sites dedicated to those gods from the modern times, be it looters, desecration, or even sanctification under a different deity, like maybe Desno followers want to move in.
Okay.
And then they
Now,
preserve these holy practices, which are in danger of not only modern adoption, but also being just swollen and eaten by the desert itself.
I've always really liked the idea of. I'm a big fan of the way gods are kind of structured in Pathfinder, and that there are many of them, and they are not. You know how I roll with them. They're not paying attention to the mortal world, in my opinion, and they are doing their own thing. And there are many of them, and there are many that are lost to time, and there are many that we don't know if they're still there or not. There are many that have died. Like, they are not infallible, and they are not immortal. They are just very powerful. And so I always love the idea of cultures that worship these forgotten gods. I'm kind of now wondering, does this Girtablilu seer, does it have divine spellcasting? I'm assuming it does, which means if it does, that such a god must still exist, or at least a pantheon that they think it exists, something like that. And I love that sort of mystery behind some of it, and it kind of forces, for better or for worse, it forces some creatures into a bit of an alien aspect, something misunderstood, and perhaps feared because of a misunderstanding and ignorance. But it adds a certain mystery in this, for me, like a longing to learn, to get in there and be like, what is it we're missing from the pantheon of knowledge, as it were.
So you actually nailed it. That's exactly what these creatures are, from head to toe, from head to tail. That is the entirety of their being.
Yeah.
Some do believe that they were created by a god that's been dead for millennia as guardians of their reliquaries or their holy sites. But the Girtablilu themselves consider their origin taboo and refuse to engage in conversation on that specific topic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Because they're from arid climates, they rarely require food or water. Every now and again, they will train giant scorpions as pets because kin, I guess. And they have excellent stamina, so they're able to stalk prey or contaminate populace for days on end across the desert.
Yeah. Cool.
That being said,
so they're the naked mole rats of scorpion humanoids. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which, by the way, there is like a naked mole rat already in this game. I discovered along the way.
Spoilers for episode 126.
Right?
So they're not ignorant of modern day culture. They are used to explorers seeking their treasures, and they have on occasion even welcomed those who wish to learn about their culture and their society. Not their origin or their pantheon, but their culture and society specifically. Okay.
Which they keep reasonably separate then, I guess.
Yep, they do. Every now and again, they will share those beliefs with earnest outsiders, but it's like 1 in a million kind of thing, as far as I can tell by the research I've done. Yeah. But if you come to challenge their faith or desecrate one of their sites, they'll work you.
They're gonna work the body. They're gonna work the body to start. They'll get to every other spot.
A direct quote from the bestiary is, "They are unmatched when it comes to fighting in the desert. Period. Hard period."
Hard, solid decimal point. End of equation.
Yeah. Specifically,
I hope that's reflected in the stat block.
It kind of is. They're
okay.
They're not. I mean, it's a dude on a scorpion. Like, it's not.
Sure. Yeah.
They're
not surfing on sand waves.
I mean,
like some sort of mutant.
Not rules as written, but rule of cool, I guess.
There's your new idea to start.
So that's the sentries. The seers are the highest position in the community and requires years of study and dedication to unlock their divine magical potential.
Mm-hmm.
Their entire job in the society is to ensure all actions follow all dogmas.
Okay.
Which is
so
crazy.
Yeah. So they're very, very strict on the religious structure.
Yeah.
I guess the seers.
That would be like if a deacon in the church's entire job was to make sure all of the parishioners followed every letter of the Bible with every action they ever did. It's just crazy oversight.
Okay. Yeah.
And because of this expectation of society, they furiously retaliate on those part of the community who break the mandates, be it a Girtablilu themselves or an outsider that's kind of been adopted into their culture. These seers will just clear house if they need to.
Makes them pretty ripe for opportunity to like create the dogma for them, because it's all suspended in mystery, right? So you have lots of opportunity here to build this, build what it is they're so strict about.
Yeah,
even amongst their own people.
And they're not immune, or they're not opposed to working with other beings as well. In the sidebar, we learn about allied guardians. So every now and again, they'll team up with other creatures of the desert, be it Garuda, Nagas, Moftets, anything really, as long as their beliefs are being respected.
Okay.
So they're more of a live and let live, just don't fuck with our shit kind of culture.
Sure. Yeah, and if you show promise at all and perseverance, maybe we'll let you in on the what's behind the curtain there.
Yeah. And in the rare second sidebar, bonds of faith, the communities of Girtablilu form around beliefs rather than families. So if we are attached to a specific piece of dogma and we want to leave the rest behind, we can go create our own community and leave, the community that wants to focus on this particular aspect of the dogma in the dust. And that's a totally normal and reasonable thing to do in this society.
Okay, so then the dogma must be like expansive enough to have like sort of sections in it, where it's like, or branches, if you will. I mean, like this one focuses like let's say warfare, and this one focuses on maybe healing, or if you want to get it like really break it down really simple.
Yeah.
And then it's reasonable to like break off from your own actual family and go join said community that focuses on these things, but that's not breaking the dogma. It's focusing on a certain aspect of it.
Yeah, like a wizard school, or how we've seen religion splinter, and even in the last century. Imagine, their god having been forgotten for 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's so much time for dogmatic splintering.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. So because of this and their attachment to their beliefs, a great importance is put on this chosen family. And because a great importance is put on that chosen family, this is how we get the rare cases of other ancestries living among the Girtablilu. They've shown that earnestness to be part of the culture, to be part of the community, to join, and they're accepted into the community eventually, even though they don't talk about specific things, So there's taboos and faux pas in these societies as well, because these aren't mindless beings. This is a humanoid on a scorpion. Like it is as smart as you and I. It's just better, faster, stronger.
Right. So I'm getting the vibe that there is no real like top brass. There are the seers.
Yeah.
But you're not talking about a king or a chief or anything like that. We're talking about kind of they're a little more sectioned off, but then led by these seers strictly within their own sections. But I would imagine they probably have some sort of let's get together. The seers get together to discuss the greater importance of the culture, what have you. But it sounds to me like they're a little bit divided in their dogma and their culture, which gives that leeway that early on sounded like wasn't there. Is kind of the point they're trying to get at.
Yeah, it's really interesting to have the splintering and the community built around beliefs and have it be just cool. Like,
I'll tell you what it
may be
reminds
from
me of.
different clans, but
Big time is the Aiel from Wheel of Time.
Oh yeah,
already desert dwelling, basically in tribes that are known and focused on certain things, and they do have these leaders, and they do have. I mean, the Aiel would have a little bit more of a breakdown of who's kind of in charge within their own groups, but there is no one in charge of them all, right? So yeah, definitely getting that vibe. Sounds very inspired by them, or maybe in tandem, inspired by the same thing.
Yeah, it's possible. On that note, this isn't included in this doc because I didn't think of it until we started talking about this. But I've been rereading Utopia by Thomas More, and a lot of these concepts are very similar to the utopian society.
Okay, I heard that.
Holy shit!
Damn.
Can you see why I'm trying to get these people evicted? Fuck everything
seriously.
about them.
That was loud.
Yeah, they suck.
Sounded like
all the time.
something got knocked over in your room.
No, that's just them being fucking assholes because they're fucking assholes. Shitty neighbors are the worst listeners, and I hope you all have great neighbors.
You heard it here first. You want to encounter this.
Yeah.
James has never had a space he could properly record in.
No. After we're done here, I'm about to go encounter them. That's not true. I'm not a proponent of violence.
No. No. But damn, can he write a strongly worded email?
Oh, yeah. I cut an intimidating figure.
Oh, shit.
But that's pretty much it for Tui. This is one of the few creatures we've covered that are just like done really hardcore in 1E, which is also great. The lore itself doesn't change too much. Whereas in 1E, the leaders are actually clerics or oracles, so they've got that class tag. The tradition is as important in the dogma, so like splintered clans have different traditions as well, and those are as important as their religious dogma. And they believe that no sacrifice in life goes unrewarded in the hereafter, which makes them fearless fighters.
Okay.
So
cool.
Not afraid to die.
Yeah. Got some Valhalla vibes going on.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Very, very Aiel to bring it back. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is where we get our science stats from. So it's the triumphant return of how big it. These are 4 meters or 13 feet long.
Be careful your phrasing there. How big it?
Oh, yeah, right.
Not that it made any sense the wrong way, but
how big it am. And they're 362.9 kilos or 800 pounds. So they're about the size of of an elephant and the weight and ferocity of a grizzly bear. Not like a small grizzly bear, but like a BC grizzly bear.
Yeah, like a proper.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, and the 1E stuff all came from a book we didn't have in our library, which was crazy. I'd never heard of it. It's called the Inner Sea Monster Codex.
Okay.
So this is our first one.
Cool.
Actually, let me make sure I know what that one is. Yeah, so that is our barbarian that is called a Raging Stinger. It is level 9. This is the Raging Stinger. This is
okay. That looks like a barbarian. Yeah.
This is the barbarian. This is level 9.
Okay. Looks cool.
Oh no, I had it right.
Did you?
I don't know anymore. I thought I had it right.
Regardless.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I had it right. I'm gonna assume I had it right. This is the level 9 Raging Stinger Barbarian. I believe this is the level 11 Dune Strider Ranger.
Okay.
This is definitely the level 12 Quick Striker, which is a Rogue Scout.
Okay.
I love this artwork. I thought this was great.
It's really cool. Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah. And this is our Divine Chieftain. So this is the Desert Druid.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. I see where I went wrong. This is the art for the basic regular Girtablilu.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
This
now-
is our
now I'm
Raging
throwing
Stinger.
down. That's your okay.
This is our
Nailed it.
Ranger.
Yeah.
This is our Rogue Scout. And this is the Druid.
Okay.
This is the level
Okay,
14
okay.
Divine Chieftain, Desert Druid.
For a second there, I thought you had two different, the same one that was flipped to low res or something, and then I realized, oh no, they are different.
Yeah, it
Um,
was. I actually had to pull this artworks directly out of the book and do some Photoshop magic
Okay, yeah,
to get them cleaned
I
up.
do that before. Yeah, hard to come by sometimes. Yeah, really cool. I love them. Like it's funny how the rest of them don't match the OG one. The OG one is like cool, but kind of seems to have gone out of its way to be too sexy.
Yeah,
Which is just kind of dumb. And the rest of these are badass. I love like the scorpions look. The shells look rough. They look crab-like.
yeah, they really
There's like
do.
jagged edges. They're not just sleek, almost like rock formations in a way.
Yeah.
That druid looks awesome.
Yeah, I love this artwork.
I love this.
Real
one.
like
Yeah.
like Aztec, Incan, Egyptian vibes, all wrapped up into I think that's a woman on top of a scorpion with her focus and dual daggers. Like and it looks like she's got like duct tape wrapped around the claws for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Like just great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Had to get bandaged, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Battle medicine.
Yeah,
Wrap
I
up
mean,
my claws.
level 14 healer, I guess. So,
Yeah. Cool.
but that's
the
that's
art's
the
awesome there.
Pathfinder lore. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very
nothing-
cool.
Nothing crazy, but interesting stuff. Food for thought.
Mhm.
Okay, now we get into the part where I embarrass myself.
Oh,
Okay.
here we go.
As always, not a scholar, speaking a dead language, did the best I possibly could with the tools I had and the time I had. And I think I did a pretty good job on this one. So
All
here
right.
we go. This all comes from Akkadian.
Okay.
So this is an extinct
So-
East
and that-
Semitic language.
Sorry, that's specifically not the East Coast French Canadian culture. Is what
That's-
a different Acadian.
Yeah, that's Akkadian. This is Akkadian.
Okay, just double checking. Don't want any confusion out there.
I specifically looked up the pronunciation just to make sure I wasn't.
Okay.
I was like,
Yeah.
so it's called Akkadian because this extinct language was spoken in Babylonia, Larsa,
Mhm.
Assyria, and Akkad.
My God. Okay.
So this is the earliest Semitic language that we know of.
Mhm.
It is an Afro-Asiatic language, so it languages like Arabic, Aramaic, and Hebrew, specifically the Shem Hebrew,
Mhm.
all stem from Akkadian.
Okay.
It used cuneiform script, so when we talk, when you hear the term cuneiform, that's how this was written. It's like ancient hieroglyphs, and
Mhm.
named after the city of Akkad, the center of one of the centers of Mesopotamian civilization, as far as we can.
Mhm. Okay.
Akkad is from 2334 to 2154 BC. So approximately 4,358 years ago is when it started, with King Sargon's conquest of Mesopotamia. So he kind of unified the region, we think. Just
Okay.
add "we think" to the end of everything I say from here.
Every
on.
bullet point.
Every
It's
bullet
just we think.
Yeah.
And it's not even we think.
No,
They
this is-
think,
this
and
is-
we trust that they think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we
So-
don't think.
Yeah.
We regurgitate.
Exactly. We plagiarize with style. Akkad ruled Mesopotamia for a 180-year dynasty with 7 generations that ended with somebody called Nim Sargon. So this is the best this is what we believe Sargon looked like, or Naram Sargon, Sargon's grandson.
Okay.
Popular belief is that he went by another name, Nimrod. For those of you who aren't familiar with Nimrod, Nimrod is the Christianization of this person, theoretically, who is the grandson of Noah, meaning that theoretically Noah conquered Mesopotamia. Yes, that Noah. Noah's Ark.
All
Noah.
right.
Yeah.
That Noah. Okay.
Yeah. These are all speculation and those kind of things, but I mean,
yeah.
So this, yeah, I mean, that's what Nimrod is supposed to have looked like. If you read descriptions of Nimrod, he looks like that.
Okay.
And you can follow those links down the rabbit hole on our website if you want to.
Do you know, just out of curiosity, we get a little fun fact section here. Do you know the reason why Nimrod is used as a word to call someone like a moron or inept or like a negative comment?
I used to know. You actually told me, but I understand that it's a bastardization because Nimrod was actually like a famous legendary hunter, as was Naram.
Yeah.
Naram
extremely capable.
Yeah.
But was turned into describing someone as incapable because of Bugs Bunny. As Bugs Bunny used to sarcastically refer to Elberfud as Nimrod to make fun of him, basically. And that turned into, we call people Nimrod to say they're incapable of performing their task or some such.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's
it's
great.
so good. It's great, isn't it?
And if you like that, listeners, look up the root of the word passion because that shit is bananas.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
passion,
no.
What the original definition of passion is something all-consuming, is this evil burning fire that's all-consuming within inside of you. Like it is.
No way.
It was an insult. It is a negative thing. It is not something you're supposed to embrace. It was really only the 90s where the meaning kind of flipped. Yeah.
That recently.
Yeah, like you're not supposed to be able to help yourself from stopping. Like it's an addiction. Like
right.
You're physically compelled is where the root of that word comes from, and it is all bad. It comes from the word passio. Despite
not knowing that fact, I was still annoyed when people go, my passion is coffee.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to strangle anyone who says my passion is.
Yeah, passion is,
right,
is pain and suffering is what it means. Is
right up there with my love language is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not called the Passion of the Christ because he was having a great time doing it. You know, like it means suffering and pain is what passion means.
That's a good point. I did not think of that. Oh
yeah.
God. Oh. Love a good etymological tangent.
Yeah.
Here I can encounter this.
Helen would be proud. Friend of the show, Helen Zaltzman.
The best.
So, like I said earlier, we got the pronunciation Girtablilu from Dan Rees. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. We'll have this linked in the show notes and in the description because they did such good work trying to translate and finding the root of this words and how they were pronounced at the time. So the idea currently from scholars is Girtab means scorpion, and Lilu from Akkadian means demon or monster entity.
Oh.
So it just means scorpion entity. And that's how we got the pronunciation of Girtablilu, because we know how Girtab is supposed to be pronounced. And we got a pretty good idea of how Lilu's supposed to be pronounced. So that's...
Yeah.
There we go.
I mean, Lilu to me is the character from The Fifth Element.
That's spelled very differently, but yes.
Yeah. But phonetically identical.
Mm-hmm. Homonyms,
so we
if
think.
you will.
We think.
Yeah. And this is where we start talking about Akkadian words and Babylonian myths and legends, and I'm going to start fucking shit up.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. So, Scorpion people, go back as far as Babylon, as I hope you suspected. And they appear as early as the Epic of Gilgamesh or the Inimuilish, which are... So the Epic of Gilgamesh is theoretically the first ever written down fictional story.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. Yeah, okay. I feel like I kind of knew that. Yep.
Yeah. And the Inomu Elish is just a different translation of the same story.
Okay.
Yeah. So that Inomu Elish means when on high, and it is a Babylonian creation myth named after the opening words, as are most Babylonian texts. Specifically, it's from the 2nd millennium BCE, 2000 to 1001. And there's only one complete surviving copy, which accounts for something that's called the Ancient Near Eastern Cosmology, or the A&E cosmology. So this is their creational myths and legends from the 4th millennium to the Macedonian Empire in the 1st millennium, which is 4000 BC to 330 BC. This is the only way we have any idea of what they believed. Is this one surviving tablet. Mm-hmm. And it was recovered in 1849, found in the ruin library of Ashburnapal, which is Mosul.
Ashburnapal, yep.
Ashburnapal, yeah. And the text is only about 1,000 lines on 7 clay tablets, but most of the 5th tablet is missing. So it's still counted as complete because the 5th tablet is there, even though the 5th tablet isn't complete. Whereas I think there's like 2 or 3 other surviving accounts, and none of them have any more than like 2 or 3 or 4 of the tablets. Mm-hmm. So in this, the text is the creation of the world, beginning with the primordial entities Apsu and Tiamat. Both are names we're probably familiar with, being the fucking nerds that we are.
Yes.
Everything else spawned from these 2 beings. The new gods that Apsu and Tiamat created first, they did not care for. So they hatched a plan to kill the new gods. One of the new gods, Ea, just spelled EA, Echo Alpha, took Apsu's halo and killed them. And then Ea and his wife, Damkina, made their home in the heart of Apsu, where they made Marduk, a being so bright he was named the sun. So Marduk directly translates from Babylonian, from Akkadian to sun.
Okay, yeah, I recognize that name as well.
Yeah. Again, links to all of this shit.
Links galore.
Yeah. The new gods then teased Tiamat about her inability to aid Apsu in, his death. So Tiamat made 11 chimeric creatures to do battles with these other gods.
Yes.
Of these chimeric creatures, there was Basmu, a venomous snake, Usumungalu, the great dragon, Musmahu, exalted serpent, Mushhususu, furious snake, Lamhu, the hairy one, Ugalu, big weathered beast, Yordimu, the mad lion, Umu Dabruto, violent storm, Kalulu, fishman, Kusaraku, bullman, and Girtablilu, scorpion man.
Oh, there we are. We got to it. Yeah. Am I Lamu? Am I just the hairy one? or is that you?
That's probably me.
I could be Ugalu, the big weather beast.
Yeah, there we go. I might also be Umu Dabritu, violent storms.
You might be both. You might be a violent hairy storm.
Yeah, there we go.
Your neighbors are about to find out anyway.
Lamu Darabutu. Obviously, I fucked all those pronunciations up. So good luck. If you can do it better, please, unchartednorth.com/Discord, because I don't want to keep fucking these up. I love these.
Yeah.
I love this shit. So eventually, Marduk ended up taking the throne and killing Tiamat, splitting her in 2, using one half to create the sky.
Okay. For a place for the sun to go.
Could not find out what the other half was used for.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So that is the Mesopotamian creation myth.
Nice.
Next, we're going to talk about the Epic of Gilgamesh. I need to hydrate.
I really had no idea we were getting into this with this creature whose name I was like, the hell is that?
Yeah.
Who rolled their face on the keyboard and called it a creature?
Yeah.
And how is it related to the Epic of Gilgamesh? What the fuck?
Yeah. So I've read the Epic of Gilgamesh previously.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I've listened to an audiobook of the Epic of Gilgamesh while working in restaurants previously, and I went back and re-listened to it for this because it's actually a really good story. It's one of the not only is it the first, as far as we know, written down folktale or fiction story,
Mhm.
it's also the first time we get the 3x structure, which is really neat.
Right.
So first story, 3x structure, and we're still trying to fuck with that shit.
Still
10,000
beating that
years,
dead horse.
and we still think we can do better. Yeah. Not saying we can't, but you know.
Tune
Follow
in to
the
Stemming the
structure.
Tide, now in book 3.
Yeah.
On the home stretch of our story.
Yeah. So as you might have guessed, this is an epic from Mesopotamia. It is one of the earliest surviving literatures, often cited as the first great composition. It is believed to have influenced the labors of Hercules, the Iliad, the Odyssey, and the Old Testament.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of, like, if you just slapped the Epic of Gilgamesh on top of the Old Testament and changed a bunch of names around, you legitimately wouldn't be able to tell the story different. There's a flood. There, it's crazy.
Yeah, I
Really,
always think when someone says, "Oh, such and such was an allegory for the story of Christ," I'm like, "Yeah, it was definitely an allegory for more than that."
Yeah.
That's just one in a long line of the same tropes.
Yeah, nothing is new.
Nothing is new.
So the oldest copy that we've been able to find dates back to the 18th century BC and is called the Old Babylonian Version, or Surpassing All Other Kings. And again, it's called Surpassing All Other Kings because those are the first lines of the text. Really neat. Did not know that's how we did this shit.
Cool.
But only a few of those tablets have survived. There's no complete version of the Old Babylonian version. What we know and what we have been reproducing is the standard Babylonian version, or He Who Sees the Unknown, which is 66% longer, and a 12-tablet version has been recovered. And that 12-tablet version was recovered in the same library as we got the Inu Mu Elish by the same guy.
Oh, so in the Ashurbanipal.
Yeah. It just took, I think, 100 years to be able to translate it. Like, it's...
Wow.
They just didn't make it a priority, right? Like, it's just a story, so they tried to translate the cosmology, and the Epic of Gilgamesh just kind of took the back seat. So part 1, we're just going to do a quick little summary here till we get to the scorpions.
Okay.
So Enkidu is a wild person that's been created by gods. Easy enough to follow. And is sexually initiated with Samhat, a sacred prostitute, and becomes civilized.
Okay.
Yep. The first chapter, a god has sex with a god-like sex worker and becomes a person.
Okay. And it's most simple of terms.
Yeah. And I apologize for my use of the word prostitute. That's just specifically what our source said. I understand the proper nomenclature is sex worker, and that's what I will be using going forward. So Enkidu travels to the city of Urk, which is a real city, to challenge their king Gilgamesh to a contest of strength. Gilgamesh kicks his ass, and the two become best friends forever.
Okay. Tale as old as time.
They take a 6-day sabbatical to the cedar forest, which is the home of the gods, to cut down a sacred cedar tree.
Hold on. They had a fight. One of them won. They became best friends, and then they took a 6-day sabbatical together.
Yeah.
I think Aikido might have switched sides.
Kind of does, actually.
Keep going.
So they in order to cut down the tree, they do battle with the forest guardian Humbaba.
Okay. That's me.
Yep. And they do it. They manage to cut down the tree, and Ishtar, the goddess of love, war, and fertility, queen of heaven, is so mad she sends the bull of heaven to punish Gilgi for rejecting her advances as well.
Oh, okay. So he's turning down a female goddess at this point. Okay.
And, the bull, one of the labors of Hercules.
Yep.
Gilgamesh and Enkidu go Kakarot and Vegeta on it and just wreck house, which really insults the Queen of Heaven, and they just get out of there with the tree. Like, the text is just them running out of this forest holding a tree.
Amazing.
Ishtar does not care for that and dooms Enkidu to death with a fatal illness.
Okay.
So then we enter part 2. Gilgamesh is very upset with Enkidu's death, so he goes to find the secret of eternal life. There he learns that life is a gift, for when gods created man, they let death be his share and life withheld in their own hands. So, because you get to live, you have to die. You know, there's passion, there's beauty, there's love. All of these things we get to experience, and the only reason we're allowed to experience them is because there's no permanence to it. Otherwise, we would cease to find joy in these things that are fleeting. And I think that's a really beautiful message.
Indeed.
But the scorpion people, you know, what we're all here for, only appear in the standard Babylonian translation, and they stand guard at the gates of the sun god Shamash at the mountains of Mashu, also a real mountain range. The mountain range is the entrance to Karnugi, their version of the underworld, and the scorpion men open the door for God as he travels out each day and close it behind him until he returns to the underworld at night, because he is a sun god.
Okay.
Gilgamesh describes their gaze as death and the terror as awesome. And on tablet 9, lines 37 to 135, Gilgamesh meets a female, the first lady scorpion person on record. And the woman tells her male counterpart, Gilgamesh's Ancestry.com results, that he's actually 2/3 god and only 1/3 human. The result is interpreted.
Hercules.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been recently reinterpreted by Karen Sonic as the woman's perspective being able to see the truth about Gilgamesh's nature, whereas the original interpretation was simple and a traditional wife just trying to nag her husband. So thank you to Karen Sonic for giving that character some actual agency. We appreciate it.
Yeah, there you go.
Because that's not a small part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
But that is where we're going to leave the story, because I do not want to spoil that for anybody who's interested. It is not long. It is 12 clay tablets. You can get through it in an hour.
Yeah.
It's about the size of a goosebump.
Dig in. Yeah.
And I highly encourage you to.
I was just reminded too, is given we were talking about the word passion. I love that you had the word awesome there. I've always thought awesome, things like awesome and terrible or terrifying are such misunderstood words. When you look at awesome, it is like having the sense of awe, you know, like, and awe is the word that I think people misunderstand. And by definition, it is an overwhelming feeling of reverence and admiration.
Yep.
It's not just that your new skateboard is awesome, you know, it is meant to be so overwhelming and just like grounding and humbling and like, just, it's so difficult to handle. Much in the way passion is like something you can't resist.
Yeah.
It really just like puts you at pause. And I've always loved the use of that word in that way.
Yeah.
They're both very diluted at this point. From the original definitions, but I love the original ones.
Yeah.
They're so cool.
Yeah. I love I love the concept of awesome. Like something is so beautiful, strange, terrifying, so powerful that it shakes your world belief. Like it shakes you to your core is what awesome means.
Yeah.
Is you are a changed person for experiencing that.
Yeah, I kind of missaid it, but the word I meant was terrific.
Oh, yeah.
We say that is terrific, but that means it is archaic. The archaic definition is it causes terror.
Yep.
Of like that's how intense and grandiose and large and the amount of it is. It is causing terror. No, it's not just awesome.
Yeah, I think it still means that
for
in
lack of a better word.
So yeah. I wonder if we just bastardize it in English.
It says here, according to Google, that terrific is a Latin origin.
Okay.
Coming from terrificus or terrare, meaning frighten.
Neat.
Etymology, baby.
Yeah.
We love it. It's one of the few things that gets both me and James going at the same time.
Words mean things. Let's find out what they are.
Semantics, baby.
Yeah. So this is the part of the show where I was ready to keep going, but my editorial instincts kicked in and it was like, that's really neat. That's really cool. Maybe just slow the fuck down because we've still got two creatures mechanics to cover.
Sure, yeah.
But we're going to touch on a couple others. Nothing too crazy. We're just going to blast through these. The first is this, because I thought this was really cool. Oh, this is Nimrod, the hunter.
Oh, cool. Love
So
it.
You can see he looks exactly like that.
Yep.
Also, Nimrod, the hunter.
Cool.
Oh no, that's Gilgamesh. My bad.
Okay.
Yep.
They look very similar.
Yeah, they certainly do. This is the bull lyre. So at the very bottom, in the very bottom quadrant, you can see a scorpion man, and this is from 2450 BCE from modern day Tel El Mukhar. Mukhar. Tel El Mukhar. So very close to the real city in the story of Urk, like geographically, not just phonetically.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Really neat. Okay, let's just blast through a couple of these. Scorpion goddesses appear all over the place, legitimately all over the place, but most of them are focused in Aztec and Egyptian and Mesopotamian culture. So first we have Malinozatal. She's an Aztec sorceress, goddess of snakes, scorpions, and desert insects, and holds the title of Chihoha-Kotel, the woman serpent.
Cool.
The next one is Salima. This is a Hindu goddess specifically of the southern Karnataka region of India, and is worshipped alongside Kolarama in Kolar. And it is believed if you pray at her shrine, you will be protected from scorpion stings.
Okay.
We got a few from Egypt. Hedete, who is actually just name-checked in the Book of Dead, though is eventually consolidated with Isis. Isis, obviously. Serket, goddess of healing venom stings and snake bites. Her name means she who tightens the throat.
Oh.
And Ta Bitjet, consort of Herois. I believe this is more much later in I can't remember the distinct names of the pantheon, but I believe this one comes from much later. It could be much earlier as well, because sometimes I get those BCE and BC shit backwards. So
yeah.
And then we got two more from Mesopotamian culture. There's Lisi, Mesopotamian goddess associated with fire, and Ningrima, associated with snakes, fish, water, and could be the sister of Enlil. And Enlil is just another translation of the name Enkidu or Ea. So that in that creationist myth, the Inomush Elish, that Elish refers to Ea, the new god who took Apsu's halo and killed Apsu. Is also translated to Enlil, is also translated to Enkidu. So we believe that god is the being in the Epic of Gilgamesh that comes to Earth.
Okay. It all trails down.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Can you see why this took me so long to just get
I've
shit
been
straight?
there. I've been there.
There's a whole another 14-page document of just me trying to organize point form notes.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Like the wiki hole you go down. You're like, I haven't even got to the other web pages yet.
Yeah.
It's just Wikipedia. This is too much.
Yeah. Tons and tons and tons and tons.
Yeah.
And there's so many websites and so many books going to be in the reading list over on our website, encounterthis.ca. We have to do pop culture because we'd be crazy not to.
Well, you'd be crazy not to.
In this episode, we would be crazy not to.
Okay.
I have a feeling you've forgotten about this, but you will remember it.
Okay.
Not this. This is from a show called Atlantis, which I did not know existed. It is season 1, episode 9, called Pandora's Box. This character is Campe, the lady dragon, a lady dragon called the Nymph of Tartarus. This is a real creature in Greek mythology, but in this show in specific, she's a scorpion and a witch.
Okay. Cool. Never heard of the show either.
Yeah. Not that one. Next up is the Teen Wolf. Apparently, they did a TV show of it quite recently, and in season 5, like in the last 10 years, I think.
Okay.
Not interested, but cool. In season 5, they introduced this whole arc, I guess, of chimeras, but specifically werewolf chimeras. And there's one character called Lucas who is a Girtablilu werewolf, and has venom spiked arms, like spikes come out of his arms, like reverse Batman gauntlets.
No.
I couldn't find an image with a tail, so I didn't bring one.
Some ideas are just awful. Just don't.
Yeah.
Just why bother?
Speaking of awful ideas, this is Kron Stone. This is from Marvel's Spider-Man 2099. This art specifically is from Timestorm 2099 and or the Shattered Dimensions game. Son of the Alchemix president, accidentally spliced his genes with a scorpion, and coincidentally was also Venom at one point.
Okay.
For those of you who don't realize why that's a coincidence, Mac Gargan, who you would probably know as the Scorpion, was Venom for a long time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the Venom that eats people, that's Mac Gargan. That's not Eddie Brock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, really cool stuff.
Cool.
Started in like 2009, I think, with the Thunderbolts. Yeah, Mac Gargan gets cancer and he can no longer do the Scorpion suit anymore. So Eddie Brock becomes Anti-Venom and Mac Gargan takes on the Venom symbiote. It's a weird storyline. I love Mac Gargan. I love that character. I think he's really interesting.
Yeah.
This character sucks. I love Spider-Man 2099. I love the 2099 universe. I do not love Timestorm 2099, but Shattered Dimensions was solid.
I know in my head I was what I was expecting from a Marvel reference, but now I think I'm now realizing that I've mixed two things up. And I'm not. It's been a long time since I watched it, since I was a kid, but I was a big fan of the '90s Spider-Man cartoon, of course. Who wasn't? And I remember the Sinister Six bits the best. And I remember there was the dude in like the sort of hover wheelchair.
Smythe.
Smythe, that's him.
Alistair Smythe.
I could not remember his name. Alistair Smythe, yes. Thank you. But I also remember around the same time there was like a scorpion robot.
Yeah, those were the Spider Slayers.
In my head, I was thinking he was like mounted on a spider or a scorpion kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now that like I immediately thought that, and then as you were telling that story, I was like, oh no, I gotta disseminate this and kind of separate it because those are separate things. Yeah.
Yeah. I do believe there is a storyline or a multiverse where Mac Gargan becomes a man scorpion and like kind of gets amalgamated with it. I could not for the life of me remember what it was, but I absolutely remembered Kron Stone because I hate this character.
It's hard to forget what you hate.
Yeah. Speaking of forgetting what we hate.
Oh no.
I give you the Scorpion King.
I knew it.
This is why we had to do pop culture.
We had to. I watched a video like, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I think, or whatever, where a group of fellas took it upon themselves to take this whole scene and redo it.
Oh, that would
like
be
they
awesome.
were just like, they took the scene and they were like, let's like just up it. Let's up the detail and let's And it was a whole process. And they actually made like a good looking kind of version of it. I think it's been a while, but I'll see if I can find it and send it to you after this.
Yeah, for audio listeners, if you haven't seen The Scorpion King, it is a very, very poor facsimile of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson using N64 graphics on top of a picture of a scorpion. It does not stand up the test of time. It did not look good when it came out. It was just, and the movie's awful.
It's awful. It's absolutely awful.
Yeah. Are you ready for me to blow your fucking mind?
Always.
There are 5 movies in the Scorpion King franchise. Ending in 2018 was the most recent one.
Serious?
Yep.
How? Who's making these films?
It has to be Universal because they own the rights to the Mummy, right? And this is a spin-off of I want to say the Good Mummy, but they're honestly, other than the Tom Cruise one, they're all really good. But this is a spin-off of the 1999 Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz Mummy.
Yes, yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, I remember watching the first and second one.
Yep.
I vaguely remember watching The Scorpion King and thinking, "Wow, this is awful."
Yeah.
And that was before I was even ever critical about films. I just were going, "This is not good. I'm not enjoying this at all."
I mean, the second Mummy's not great either.
Yeah, I remember that kind of being the case too. Yeah.
And then in the third Mummy,
one of the early
recast
examples
Rachel
of trying to
Weisz,
beat the franchise horse.
Yeah. But the third one holds up. But it's just sad that Rachel Weisz wasn't there. But yeah, 5 fucking movies, more
That's
movies
crazy.
than the trilogy it was based on.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder when people get into animation, as their career, they're like hoping to do these amazing things, and they ended up slotted into the Scorpion King, or I don't know, not a children's show, but not like SpongeBob SquarePants, but like a really, really basic children's show. I do genuinely wonder, and no shade, I genuinely wonder, are you happy with that gig? Like, or are you just kind of like miserable, or is it somewhere in between? Like, I just don't, when you have because animation is such a lofty prospect. For me, it is anyway, because I can't even write my own name down and be legible. So I'm like, it's just like, I can only imagine someone who's into it actually wants to like do something cool, and I'm like, oh, what happens when your lot, it just becomes the most basic thing, or like the thing that people are going to pan.
Well, so here's the thing: is I legitimately believed those animators did the best they could with the tools they had at the time.
Right.
Like if we look back at the early Harry Potter movies, that CGI doesn't stand up either. Like it's all
sure.
bad.
Even Toy Story 1 is brutal, but it was great for the moment.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
it
exactly.
was very impressive. Yeah.
So, how their art is being used isn't really up to them. So I don't think this is an animation issue. I think this is a directorial issue, because we have decades and decades of techniques for getting around not showing things because stuff either doesn't work or doesn't look good. Like Jaws is only scary because the shark looked like shit.
Right.
And Spielberg was just like, we're not going to show it.
Really good example of that is Reign of Fire. Remember that one?
I do remember Reign of Fire. Yeah.
Reign of Fire, special effects stand up because they hide them so much. Yep. And it's like there's like this really intense thing of like you're never really quite able to see the dragon wholly and fully because of the way the director did it and the way the cinematographer did it, and it's really honestly still very impressive. It's a really cool film, but because they knew it doesn't look good, they must have learned by other people failing. It doesn't look good. Yeah, so it's. Yeah. Oh, I can't hear you, James. Your voice disappeared.
Right. Sorry. Whereas this is a money shot. This is a grand reveal.
Yeah.
This is a standout scene in the movie that we are supposed to walk away and remember. And unfortunately, I do.
For the wrong reasons.
Yeah. And I guess now you do too, listeners. So good luck with that.
So good. Oh, jeez. You're right.
I would love to compare and contrast, but honestly, there's not a whole lot here to compare and contrast from, because there's not really an explanation of their society or their civilization. They're just beings that have a society, but they're just not even tertiary characters. They're plot devices. They're obstacles to overcome in both the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Mu Elish.
Mm-hmm.
I have to look at the pronunciation every time I say that word. Those words. That's 2 words. So I think we're just going to skip the compare, because again, I don't think there's much there unless something stands out to you.
Not really. No, they're Scorpion people.
Yeah. And we still got 2 stat blocks to go, and we've been on air for an hour. So
if anything they've got in common, it's that they both have barely detailed mysterious histories.
I legitimately believe the Pathfinder folks did their homework on these creatures because of how insanely mysterious their ancestry is.
And like what we actually know, despite the wiki hole you can go down, what we actually know about like Babylonian and Assyrian like history,
all speculation.
It's 99% speculation. So it kind of fits in that glove pretty well. So kudos to them for that.
Yeah, great job. That brings us to the mechanics. Yay! Ooh. All right. We're going to talk about the Sentry first, because I like to go in ascending CR, and for some reason spellcasters are always higher level than melee characters, melee beings.
Pretty much always, yeah.
So our Sentry is a level 8 creature. I'm going to do my best on that one. It's going to take, I mean, it's already taken a year. It's going to take longer.
Document we have. It says level. I got rid of the CR.
I I try not to read the documents. I try to just read the pronunciation. But yeah, why are we doing it if I'm not reading it?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. That's what I'm wondering right now.
Yeah, exactly. AC 27, HP 160, and you're right, they are a large being. And their only trait is beast.
Oh, no humanoid.
No humanoid. I say as I quickly double check that because I fucked this up before. Nope, just beast.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that makes the recall knowledge beast, arcana and nature of 24, 22, and 19 for specific.
Mm-hmm.
They have an 18 perception and a 40-foot land speed.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of wish they had a burrow speed, but you know. And they do speak 2 languages, Common and Girtablilu, which I'm going to let slide because we have previously established that they're an ancient culture from millennia ago and not the only beings in the world that speak Yeti.
At least they ain't eating trees.
Yeah, for now.
For now.
They have Dark Vision and Tremor Sense 60, which I think are both great, very thematic. That is just how scorpions do, as far as I can tell with the very brief arachneal research that I've done.
Sure.
Research
on arachnids would have worked.
Yeah. I was looking for another word. So there's the type of arachnid there, and I can't remember the word.
Okay.
Strength 6, Dex 4, Con 6, Int 3, Wisdom 4, Charisma 3. So mid stats cross board, just doing a good job.
Pretty well rounded.
Yeah. Plus 22 athletics, 17 intimidation, 16 religion, and 18 survival. No complaints. I'd be pretty fucking scared of a giant scorpion holding a spear if it came up on me
I'll
too.
stand to reason. Yeah. If they had a burrow speed, I would advocate for a stealth. But yeah, I think I get why they don't. Yeah. So. Yeah,
and you know, it's not a scorpion. Like things that burrow have their head in line. It would make no sense if this thing could burrow because the top half would have its spinal cord or whatever.
How good would it be though? Like someone's like waist deep in the sand in the desert. Like, help me out! Help me out! Wow!
Desert anglerfish.
It's a good tactic.
Yeah, 20 fortitude save, 16 reflex, 12 will. And they got a couple of items. They got a +1 striking long spear and hide armor.
Long spear, okay. Yeah. I feel like I take a little bit of umbrage, if that's the right word, with the reflex and will. I feel like I would swap those.
Really? You would have the reflex be 12 when they've got 8 legs?
Well, they're... I know it's maybe a lot of legs, but they're big is the thing. So, like, to me, like, will is, like, they are resolute in what they do. So, like, their culture stands for the will to me, and the reflex is a little bit reduced by the size. But, I mean, it's not a make or break, but I would have swapped those.
I see what you're saying.
Just for lore reasons, yeah.
I think they're probably correct. I don't know how much interaction you've had with scorpions, but they are fast, and the big ones are just as fast as the small ones.
Yeah. I once worked at a candy shop that had dead scorpions inside of suckers or lollipops.
What? Just blue screen my cerebral cortex. Holy, what just happened?
You never seen this before? Never heard of this?
Why would I have heard of that? Dead scorpion inside of food does not sound like food.
Yeah,
sounds like a trap.
I mean, obviously, it's a novelty. It's a shtick of some kind. Yeah, but it's it's a thing, sort of.
These coasters.
Now I know what I'm getting you for your birthday when I figure out when your birthday is.
August 12th.
That's not it. I know it's
it
not
is
that.
Absolutely nowhere close. And it is definitely also not the direct opposite. I don't even know why I chose that.
Okay, continue.
Yeah. From here on, they get pretty basic. They have 3 melee attacks. as I'm sure you can imagine. The first is a pincer. It is 20, 16, and 11 going down the map. It is 2d8 plus 9 piercing, agile, plus grab. So that's one action. Doesn't count towards the map because I've researched it this time.
Nice.
Yep. I even put a link to grab there just in case I fuck that up again. Next is their stinger. It is 20, 15, and 10, 2d6 plus 9 piercing, 10-foot reach, and Girtablilu venom, which we'll get into when we touch on their passives. And that heinous longspear. Because it's +1, it is 21, 16, and 11. 2d8 plus 9 piercing, 15-foot reach, magical, and Girtablilu venom.
They've venomized their spear, have they? Clever.
Yeah. I just want to. Nope. That's just
okay.
a holdover. No, it does not have the venom, though I'm sure you could venomize the spear.
I'm sure you could. It would be a cool idea. I think it would be remiss to say that they wouldn't plan like that. Although I understand why the base stat block is probably not that, just at whatever level it's at, you know.
Yeah, exactly. They have a one-action constrict, so if they have somebody grabbed, that is 3d8 plus 6 bludgeoning, DC 24.
Now, what I already love about this setup is that those pincers are separate from the arms wielding the spear, so you can have two people grabbed and constricting them and still jabbing people with that spear and smacking them with that tail. Yeah, that's so great. It's a great visual.
Yeah. And that DC 24 is a basic fortitude save on the constrict, so save for half.
Yep.
Two passives here. We got Desert Stride, because they live in the desert. They ignore difficult terrain in the desert. Every time I write the word desert, I have to double check I didn't write dessert. Every single time.
I love it. At least you're not writing Desiree.
Yet. Yes. For those of you who go look back through my notes, Gilgamesh gets just obliterated.
I saw a Giglamesh. Yeah. There's one in here.
Yeah. Gilgaboy, Gigamesh, they're all over the place. I gotta do something to give myself a little chuckle here and there.
So good.
I mean, all of my show notes are like that too. They're all just horrible. That's why we put them on the website.
Yeah.
And the venom. It is a poison, DC 30 fortitude save. Max duration is 6 rounds. I am still not 100% sure how poisons work, so we're just going to go through the 3 stages that are listed.
Yeah, you have to look at affliction rules. Affliction is the word you're looking for, listeners. Affliction revolves around both poisons and diseases, and those are the rules that you need. And poisons are fast-acting and short-lived. Diseases are sometimes, but not always, slow-acting and long-lived. But same rules.
Perfect. So if you fail that DC 30 fortitude save, you immediately go to stage 1 as far as I can tell.
Correct.
That is 2d6 poison plus enfeebled 1 for 1 round.
Mm-hmm.
If you fail that saving throw again, you go to stage 2. And that is 3d6 poison plus enfeebled 1 for 1 round, so just 1 more on the d6.
Mm-hmm.
And stage 3 is 3d6 poison and enfeebled 2 for another round.
And if you happen to succeed after stage 2 kicks in, you would go back to stage 1 and still take 2d6 and remain being enfeebled 1. So that's easy to forget. You don't just suddenly recover.
Yeah.
You go down stages, unless of course you critically succeeded, in which you do double the stage kind of difference.
And that's why the max duration is 6 rounds, is because you can bounce all the way down and come all the way back up and still be cool.
Yeah. That's why poisons can be very dangerous for low fortitude characters. If they roll poorly on those, that shit can stack fast. And you're like, it's a maximum duration of 6 rounds, but you're looking at, if you fail every one of them for 6 rounds, it's 2d6, 3d6, 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 and enfeebled the whole time.
Yeah, and I believe enfeebled takes a kick to your fortitude save, doesn't it?
No, it's your strength, enfeebled strength.
Oh, okay.
So not usually hampering the low fortitude characters in the same way, like a wizard, not usually relying on strength. However, if you're looking at having, grabbing that character, the enfeebled has lowered their athletics DC for the grab. Or I guess the grab would be reflex DC, but same idea. If there's an athletics DC or kind of involved in there in somewhere, then you're looking at some trouble.
Okay.
If there's anything relying on athletics, you're looking at some trouble. But generally speaking, it's if effectively something like this targets the best, someone who's like somewhere in the mid range on both strength and fortitude and constitution, you're most likely to get more mileage out of it. But the damage alone is worth just going after that wizard. It's crazy. It could be real bad.
Yeah. So grab, or pincer, grab, constrict, poison. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
It's easy to lose track of, like, it says for 1 round, right? So actually, I don't remember off the top of my head, but you gotta remember, double check when that round ends, because it's easy to like place it on like, oh, at the start of the end of my turn, but the poison was activated on this creature's turn, not on your turn. So I'm pretty sure it's somewhere like usually at the start or the end of the Girtablilu's turn itself that this is going to tick. So keep that in mind, but double check the affliction rules. Don't quote me on it.
Yeah, the affliction. I tried to scan them. They're not scannable. Read them.
No, read them. Read them thoroughly. Yeah. Every time it comes up in Stemming the Tide, I reread them thoroughly. I forget the small, finer details all the time.
Yeah, crazy. And then we have our final creature of the evening, the Girtablilu Seer. This is a level 12 creature with AC 33, 210 hit points. Large as well, also beast. The recall knowledges are a little bit higher because it's a higher level creature. We're looking at 30 for Arcana or Nature and 25 for a specific.
Okay.
Huge perception bump. It is now plus 25. When our last one was 16. Everything else is the same. Dark Vision, Tremor Sense, Girtablilu, common. We have a few buffs to the stats. Specifically, Wisdom is now a 7. And Dex has gone from 4 to 5. Mm-hmm. All of the same skills, but they've all been bumped. Athletics is 24, Intimidation 33, Religion 25, Survival 23. And we've seen a pretty big bump in the saves here. 22 Fortitude, 19 Reflex, and 25 Will because of that caster. Mm-hmm. And they are not holding a badass spear, but they have +1 Resilient Hide Armor, and that 8th level Resilient rune is just a +1 item bonus to all saves.
Okay, yeah.
Which
adding to the increase of those saves, yeah.
Yeah, which is already rolled in on this stat block. Because as a GM, I have in the past seen, it gives a bonus to this save. I'll add that on top. Not in Pathfinder.
Dope.
It is rolled into the stat block. Already done.
Always rolled in.
Yeah. Same pincer and stinger attacks. The pincer is a 24, 20, 16 to hit. 3d8 plus 12 bludgeoning this time. Same grab, same agile. Stinger is the same. 3d6 plus 12. Same constrict, except it's 3d8 plus 6. DC remains the same at 24. They also have the same Girtablilu Venom and Desert Stride. Excuse me.
Yep.
And they have Divine Spellcasting.
They don't even have an increased Fortitude save DC, do they?
30 versus 24. Oh, no, it's the same.
No,
yep.
30 was the other one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I guess maybe just makes sense because it might not be a level thing. It's just like an anatomy thing.
Yeah.
See an anemone.
So if I understand this correctly, a hazard or a poison or an affliction isn't actually part of the character. It's actually its own. It's actually just classified as a hazard. So this Venom would have its own DC as a hazard.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Because if you were to acquire this Venom for your character and place it on your weapon, it would have the same DC. It's the Venom itself that has the potency. Yeah.
That's my understanding of it anyway. I'm absolutely prepared to be corrected.
I think you're right. Yeah. A fine observation, my friend.
Much obliged, but next time in your different voice. All right, they got some weird spells here. They are, I think they're spontaneous.
He's double checking.
Yeah.
If they're divine, I would guess they're prepared.
They're spontaneous.
They are spontaneous. Okay, cool.
Spontaneous,
Very cool, actually. Yeah.
They are level 6. Their cantrips are Daze, Detect Magic, Forbidding Ward, Guidance, Read Aura, all your basic cleric cantrips. They're lovely. Not a single one in there you shouldn't take. Maybe Read Aura if you're feeling crazy. Level 1, they got 3 slots. Create Water, Purify Food and Drink, Sanctuary, all very thematic.
Yep.
Level 2, 3 slots. Augury, Calm Emotions, Create Food. Again, Seer, very, very thematic. Level 3 is where shit starts to get weird. 3 slots. Dream Message, Glyph of Warding, and Sanctified Ground. I had never heard of Sanctified Ground before, but it's exactly what you think it is, where you sanctify an area.
Okay.
So, interesting, thematic, and probably pretty useful depending on how you decide to introduce the Girtablilu to your campaign. If they're allies to the party and they're trying to find or re-sanctify, I don't think you need re as a prefix.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Oh, it is an interesting spell, though. Is that, you choose a creature type to sort of consecrate and sanctify the ground against.
Yeah, and all creatures in the area gain a +1 status to AC attack damage. It's very similar to the Bless spell, except it's a specific location as opposed to an emanating aura.
Yeah. And then you pick a creature type, which is aberrations, celestials, dragons, fiends, monitors, or undead.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right.
Yeah. So level 4 is 3 slots. We have Freedom of Movement, Neutralize Poison, and Outcast's Curse. So Freedom of Movement is only as an allied spell because all Girtablilu can kind of just move wherever the fuck they want over difficult terrain in the desert. But Neutralize Poison is a healing magic, and you attempt to cure 1 poison, afflicting it as a 2-action counteract as opposed to the 10 minutes, I think, treat poison is.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah. I mean, accidental poisonings, you know? It's kind of hyper thematic, and I love it. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, this creature's really set up to actually, you know what? I'll save that for Homebrew.
Okay.
Outcast's Curse is also a really I think it's probably more useful than it is interesting, but it's still cool. It's 2 actions. You afflict the target with a curse that makes its presence abrasive and off-putting. The target must attempt a will save. So just me when I'm hangry. Critical success, target is unaffected. As a success for 10 minutes, the target must roll twice and use the worst result whenever attempting a diplomacy, deception, intimidation, or performance check. If the creatures they encounter have an initial attitude towards them of 1 step worse. So if normally we'd be indifferent, you would automatically be unfriendly if I have this curse upon me.
Oh, and you're rolling twice with and taking the worst result at the same time.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. What's even crazier is a failure is the same as a success, but it's permanent.
Holy crap.
Just a failure.
Wow. Okay.
Critical failure is the same as a failure, except targets have an attitude towards them that is 2 steps worse. So if you were supposed to be indifferent, you'd just be openly hostile.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, this is it's a curse, so this is liftable by this level with remove affliction. But it is still something you don't want to have permanent. From a failure, it's permanent. That's pretty brutal. Like, you roll poorly on your attempts to remove it, you might be out of luck for a bit.
I legitimately really like that spell. Yeah. I don't know if I would ever take it as a PC, but it's really neat. And if we were ever to do like another Mark of the Mantis kind of thing, like a society scenario, or that was like more heavily socially bound, I would 100% live in this spell.
Right. crazy.
The social engineering you could do with this spell is crazy.
It's worth mentioning, too, that it has the misfortune trait, which doesn't come up too often, but I know will come up in something I'm going to cover in the future. And a misfortune effect detrimentally alters how you roll your dice. You can never have more than one misfortune effect alter a single roll, which is important to note. And if multiple misfortune effects would apply, the GM decides which is worse and applies it. So it's like double misfortune in a way. If a fortune effect and a misfortune effect would apply to the same roll, the two cancel each other out and you roll normally. So you actually could, like, using a hero point is a fortune effect, which we gloss over a lot. So if you want to use a hero point to after you've acquired this curse on your deception, diplomacy, intimidation, or performance check, it would cancel out the misfortune effect, even though it's permanent, and you would just roll once. And that's a good example, I think, of like how you have to say in advance, I'm going to use a hero point. I'm not going to get to roll twice, but I am getting to only roll once and not have to go with the lower.
Yeah.
So worth mentioning, I suppose.
I haven't seen too many misfortune effects that aren't, to borrow the 5e parlance, just disadvantage. Same with fortune. It's usually advantage. Every now and again, it's a +1 or a +2 to the next roll or what have you. But
that's literally what it is. No, that's what fortune and misfortune are, is the effect of 5e advantage, disadvantage. Yeah. Okay. They're just less common.
Yeah.
And they have similar rules to them, but they're far less common because they work differently in this system.
Right. And it's rolling your dice twice is so much more powerful in Pathfinder than it ever was in 5e, and it is so powerful in 5e.
Yeah. And there's a difference between rolling twice and taking the higher and rolling twice and taking the second option. So like when you roll a hero point by the rules, you take the second result.
Yes.
It's an optional thing, right? Whereas there are abilities where it's like you use this ability, it causes you to roll again twice and take the higher. That's very powerful.
So this is a misfortune effect where you roll twice and must use the worst results as opposed to taking the second result. Yeah.
Yeah. So, there is a kind of a blurred line sometimes in there because they're so uncommon, but they are separate sort of levels of potency, as it were.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the spells.
Yeah. Interesting spell for sure. I don't think it's particularly useful in most campaigns, but could be real fun to just bust out at a party.
It seems like a proper way for the seer to be like, I don't want you entering our society. I'm going to make it harder for you and curse you, basically. And be like, okay, you're not convincing anyone now. Good luck.
Yeah, and level 5, they've got 3 slots. The first one is Divine Wrath, which is actually a 4th level spell that they cast a level higher, or rank. I don't fully get this one. You just choose an alignment: chaotic, good, evil, lawful. It's been updated.
It's
Okay,
been updated.
I don't. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Remastered.
Yeah,
version.
if you click the link you should see at the top. There's a remaster version.
Yep,
there's a link to click it. So instead of alignment, it's now just spirit damage.
Right.
For anyone.
So this is a 120-foot range, 20-foot burst, 140-10 spirit to any enemies, depending on their fortitude save. So it's a basic fortitude. It looks like a success creature takes half, except on a failure, instead of just taking the full, they take the full and are sickened 1. And critical fail, they're sickened 2 and slowed 1. So not bad for a 20-foot burst.
While
spell.
sickened, yeah. It can be pretty beefy, yeah.
Yeah, and at 5th level, and that's 5d10 too. So
right, and so because they removed alignment, that's affecting anything unless they are immune to spirit damage.
That's how long ago I did this stat block. Alignment.
Yeah. Still haven't covered it. Well, to be fair, Archives of Neth is only just recently, as of this recording, updated to including the remaster stuff from the Monster Core, which means that a lot of this stuff was not updated for a very long time. It was delayed for a lot.
Yeah, and we'll see that for the next couple episodes, I think. But after 126 or 120, 127 or 128, which should probably be all the way over.
Yeah. Even through Player Core 2, still not out yet. Like, we're going to be bouncing back and forth between Legacy and Remaster, basically.
Yeah. They also have Harm and Remove Curse at that level. So if they decide to give you Outcast Curse, then you redeem yourself. They can just take it away, or attempt to take it away. It is that
which also level. Is no longer Remove Curse. It is rolled affliction. Into what's called Remove Affliction. Yeah. We covered that on STT.
Yeah. And let me just double check that these next spells don't have remaster variants, because I'm sure they do. Yeah, there we go. Remaster.
There you go.
Remaster.
Yeah, I see one. Yeah, I see one too. Yeah.
Okay. 6th level, 3 slots. They've got Heal. One called Blessed Boundary, used to be Blade Barrier.
Mm-hmm.
This is a 120-foot range, a 60-foot burst, 1 minute duration. This is way different. I'm probably just going to read this verbatim. I'm real sorry, Archives.
Yeah, do it. Yeah.
Manifestations of divine force appear in the hundreds, swirling in massive protective sphere. They typically look like spiky fragments, but often take on an appearance themed to the deity of the caster. The sphere is hollow, with the manifestations forming a shell 2 inches deep on the outer edge. You can choose to make the burst smaller in 5-foot increments when you cast it. So instead of 60 foot, you can make it 40 feet.
Yeah.
The shell provides cover and can intersect solid terrain without affecting it. The shell deals 7d8 force damage to each creature who intersects with the shell when the sphere is created or who attempt to move through the shell. The creature also takes the damage at the end of its turn, but only if it didn't already take the damage from the shell that turn. The effects are determined by the creature's reflex save. So critical unaffected, success half damage. Failure is full damage, push 10 feet in a direction of your choice and end movements. And
awesome.
Critical fail takes double damage, push 20 feet in the direction of your choice and end movement. And heightened increases the damage by 1d8.
Wow.
This is not heightened in the stat block, but that might be the single best control spell I've seen in the game.
Awesome. Up to 60-foot burst being on the corner of squares, and so you can place it up to 120 feet away from you. So you place it strategically and then resize it 60 foot or less. You can, if you do it right, you can hit a bunch of creatures on the edge of the sphere.
Cast it, though.
When you cast it, yeah. So it's like, but the moment you cast it, if you place it correctly at the right size, you can hit a bunch of creatures along its edge. And then if they fail or critically fail, they're pushed away, which means the moment they have to come back towards you, they're gonna have to take the damage again.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. It's so good, and it provides cover and can intersect solid terrain provides cover. Okay, so that there also means when they're outside of the sphere.
Yeah, they've
got cover from you, and you've got cover from them. Wow, that's a cool spell. That's a really cool spell.
That's really awesome. No wonder it's 6th level.
Yeah, seriously.
And our last one is called Spirit Blast. This is a 30-foot range, basic fortitude save. You concentrate ethereal energy and attack a creature's spirit, dealing 16 d6 spirit damage with a basic fortitude save. Heightened increases by 2d6.
Amazing. Just a very simple, I'm a blast you spell. I just rolled 16d6 at 67 damage.
Yeah. No big deal.
Amazing. No big deal. That's awesome.
Wow. Yeah, so I guess I didn't go over their spell DC here, which is important.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know where it is in the stat block anymore.
It should be right by the spell casting.
Yeah, 33.
Hold on.
DC 33.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So spontaneous DC 33, level 12.
Nice.
Yeah, that's how you do spell casting in a stat block.
Yeah. It's good. It's thematic as shit. Obviously, a lot of it you're not going to use. Unless you are allied with these and you're going for a really intensive, immersive experience. But otherwise, like the high ones matter the most because they're the ones you're encountering in combat. And I think that's why it's such a good job of these things. Like Forbidding Ward's still going to cause you some shit. Guidance could also still cause you some shit. Daze could still affect you. Those cantrips are decent, but you're really socially you're already worried about Outcast Curse. freedom of movement can affect combat real well. And then above that, they're testing you.
I mean, even that sanctified ground could be pretty hardcore if they can sanctify it for
True
their
enough,
own
yeah.
kind, right?
And Glyphing Ward's no joke.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
If they have a Spirit Blast built into a Glyphing Ward, a Glyph of Warding or whatever it is, this came up not long ago in our recordings in Stemming the Tide, and,
which won't come out for several months for you, listeners.
No, so I won't.
Sorry.
I won't spoil it, but it did. It's what exactly what happened. But Glyph of Warding is pretty powerful because it is an unlimited duration, so you can set up a proper amount of traps over. Like if you just set one up, spend that spell and another spell, and then rest. And then do it again, and then rest, and do it again, and rest. You could literally just infinite possibilities. It's ridiculous.
Well,
but you have to set specific parameters is the thing.
Yeah. And they don't
like,
have a whole lot of attack spells, so you'd be kind of limited to days, I think.
Let's jump into Homebrew, because now I'm thinking. Now I'm thinking, this is an amazing creature to set up in an old ruin that has planted traps all over the place.
And they should. They're smart creatures protective of their society. There should be a minefield of these glyphs out there.
Yeah. So those glyphs, they can be as simple as someone enters the room, but they can be as complex as someone that's not a beast enters the room. So that's kind of what the difference is. So these creatures are beasts. They can pass through the room fine, but they know others can't. So it becomes kind of interesting, even because if you have a ranger or a druid with an animal companion, and they send that in first to detect traps to set them off on purpose. Well, if your specification for your Glyph of Warding is the right accuracy, not that you should plan ahead for that. But the circumstances could turn out to be that. It was I was actually reading about this earlier today. It was a bit of a joke about when people send their familiars in to activate all the traps. So they went in, the familiar came back, it must be fine. And you're like, oh, but what about minimum weight requirements to set off said hazard? The familiar was too small. It's kind of that kind of joke. Send the animal companion in. But who would have thought that the Glyph of Warding said beasts are okay?
Yeah.
That kind of shit could really make a really entertaining moment at the table.
DC 33 to detect and disable.
Right.
No joke.
It's not a joke. Yeah, it's not a joke. At level 12, you're not necessarily fighting anything at level 12. So your perceptions can be pretty high, but yeah, that's still it's not messing around. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's passive perception too, right? That's not active perception, unless specifically stated.
Yeah, with Pathfinder 2nd Edition, there is no passive perception. There is, what it is basically, from what I remember, is when it comes to hazards, which you would kind of roll this into, everyone gets a free check, but it's a secret check. So if you are about to encounter a hazard, everyone gets a free secret check, basically, that's about to activate it. For the GM to say, halt, you've seen something. The exact details on how you go about doing that, stop, you think something's off, or you see it exactly, might be based on success versus critical success or some such. But yeah, there is no passive. It is actually an active roll from what I recall, but it is unknown to the player that they're doing it.
Right.
Which can add to that intensity.
Yeah, just walking through the desert and a fucking daze goes off under your feet.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know what else they'd put under there, because they don't have any attack spells lower than 3rd level.
Yeah. But Spirit Blast, Blade Barrier.
No.
Literally. No?
No.
Why not? Is there something in the Glyph of Warding they can't do?
A spell of a lower spell level to store in Glyph of Warding. Yeah,
lower.
It's
got to be lower.
Yeah, it's got to be lower than 3rd level.
That is a very particular caveat, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's no height on Glyph of Warding either.
Now I'm thinking about trickster stuff. It could throw up a sanctuary. It could throw up a calm of emotions, which is kind of interesting. It would be really interesting if suddenly everyone was splashed by create water and they don't know why. Just to fuck with the players.
Step into a room and a pie just appears.
Exactly. Create food. Boom. Like a feast appears for you. Nobody touch it. You know.
Right.
You know. Now you're just laughing behind the GM screen. They have no idea. It's all so mundane. You know.
Yeah, calm emotions is actually that's not a bad idea at all. You know, if you divvy them up between forbidding ward, maybe even a guidance. You know, like on your end of the room, you throw in a guidance because you can have as many active as your spellcasting ability modifier. So, you got a guidance on your side, you got a forbidding ward on your side, you've got a calm emotions on that side, you've got a sanctuary on your side, you got a daze on the other side, and you just have your army just tap dance across the battlefield. Oh, activate guidance. Oh, activate forbidding ward, and you get to save your action economy.
Right. Yeah. It could be good. Now, what I would recommend is if you do kind of get in there doing a bunch of these things and you're using Glyph of Warding, finding ways to use it for offensive options, be sure to start your encounter with some spell slots expended as if they were recently, just to balance the playing field a little bit. You don't want to just set up a fucking 100 traps and then have them at full power, you know?
I mean, if they're calm emotions, I think you're fine.
I think if they're all calm emotions, then you're probably all right. But yeah, it is an interesting thing to have that. Now that you've mentioned that, it's got to be a spell lower. It is interesting to realize that they don't have that many options for offensive reasons, but certainly for defensive reasons, I guess. So,
yeah, I don't know if they're that like offensive. I think they're I mean, they definitely have that ability to stand and bang, but that's not the seer's job in the culture, so there's no reason for them to do those things. Their entire job is to direct, support, and probably chastise.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And I do wonder, as a kind of an interesting question about the rules, is that if the Glyph of Warding requires a spell that's lower than it, does a cantrip heightened to 6 count or not? Because it is effectively a 6th level spell.
Yeah.
If simplistic. So
the wording in it is pretty specific. I just kind of skimmed it, but Glyph of Warding is like a 4-paragraph spell.
Yeah.
Spell stored must take 3 actions or fewer, have a hostile effect, and target 1 creature or have an area.
Oh, it's got to be hostile. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Any creature that moves, opens, or touches enters the target area, doesn't speak the password, matches the trigger rift, triggers a spell. Yeah.
Yeah. Might be some room to add something in there to utilize. Switch out some spells if you need, but don't go overboard. They're already going to be pretty potent with those high level spells to begin with. So
yeah. I mean, swap Read Aura for Immolate or something like that.
Sure. Yeah. Again, assuming the 6th level cantrip applies. I'm still not 100% on that.
I think it has to because, I mean, I guess maybe not because cantrips aren't really spells as we know them in any TTRPG. They don't fall into the Vancian magic scheme. They're just innate shit that you can do. That's why certain ancestries get access to them because they are magic, but they're not spells.
Well, there is that's we've talked about this off screen, is that there's a reason why we have innate, prepared, and spontaneous listed in our documents, is that cantrips are not innate. You can have an innate cantrip, but if you're a wizard, if you're a human wizard, your cantrips are not innate. You learned them. They are just the most simple of what you can do.
Well, but you
never forget them.
Like you don't write cantrips down in your spell book. Like that. I shouldn't have used innate because innate means things in the game that we're talking about, but I mean like natural.
They're just so simple for you. They are effectively natural. It's their muscle memory.
Yeah, it's like learning how to wink or snap. Yeah, like you just train yourself to do it, and you can do it forever.
Right. Yeah.
Unless an effect takes it away, but I think calm emotions would count. I think this counts as hostile because there's degrees of success. There's a will save involved, and it specifically says you forcibly calm creatures in the area.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think that interpretation is just fine. Yeah.
And the remaster is the exact same.
I also think, like, if you throw a water balloon at someone, that's hostile. So create water. It's right in there. I'm just saying.
Aim it at their genitalia so it looks like they peed themselves. That's pretty hostile.
And I tell you right now, if James is in your group and you manage to conjure pizza with pineapple on it, that's hostile.
I'm just fighting words.
That's just it. That's the truth right there.
Listeners, it's nothing about the pineapple on pizza. It's the concept of pineapple itself. That's my problem. I don't care for pineapple. Yeah. Not my bag. But yeah, as far as Homebrew goes, I'd probably swap out Read Aura. Maybe create Purify Food and Drink. I don't really see Purified Food and Drink being particularly necessary in a closed society like this. But, stick with low-level spells. Like, I wouldn't swap out anything 3rd level or higher. I'd probably just stick to first and cantrip just to make sure it's still consistent, because you're not really going to be casting those in a combat. And I would only do it for the purpose of setting up Glyph of Warding, and then just kind of forget that I had ever messed with the spell slots after a rest if this becomes a social encounter.
Yeah, I think swapping out some spells is reasonable based on the circumstances. I think the idea of like changing up these seers were some, like, especially when to do them based on like whatever you decide to create for different sort of tribes or the branches or arms of said culture. It would be interesting to see some switches up in the spell slots for that and that alone. So I would play with that a bit, but don't go too overboard and make and pummeling your PCs. I kind of wish there was a small, like a medium-sized version of these dudes that actually did have a stealth aspect. I think that would be really cool, where they actually did have a burrow, they did have like an ambush tactic, and they used different weapons that were their blades that are poisoned.
Yeah.
I think that would be a really interesting addition to this very, very small family of creatures.
I legitimately believe we'll get one, because that Inner Sea Monster Codex came out way later than Bestiary 3 when these first appeared. So it's very, very... So the base in first edition, the base Girtablilu appeared in V3. Everything else came out like 10 years later in the Inner Sea Codex. So there's plenty of time for Paizo to flush out the community. These are just the 2 we have now.
Yeah.
But speaking of messing around with weaponry and stuff like that, do not hesitate to give that sentry like a ranged weapon, like a bow or something. Just swap out that +1 striking long spear for a set of archers, and you've got your frontline wall, and you've got your archers in the back, and you've got your seer just scorponocking around.
Yeah. Can't believe that's the first reference to Scorponok.
Oh.
Should have covered that way early.
It didn't really. It's not a person scorpion.
Sure, but still.
Yeah. Man. Which Scorponok do we cover? I don't know. We cover the Transformers Scorponok, or we cover the Beast Wars Scorponok? Because the Transformers Scorponok, I do not find interesting at all.
I don't know the difference.
It's been Nerd Talk with Freeman and James.
Now, ultimately, I think adding to the family of creatures, maybe adjusting according to filling in the lore where they've left it vague on purpose, and adjusting according to that. I think that's where you're at for Homebrew. Otherwise, I'm quite happy with what these creatures look like. I think they're really, really simple and neat, but ripe for creation and adding to your own game and your own story.
Yeah, there's a lot of flavor and interesting nuance here, but it's also still very much a blank canvas for you to create your own sex. Like, there's no reason there can't be a hostile version of this where we swap out things like remove curse for anything else, or we swap out freedom of movement. Like a good chunk of these spells are designed around the concept of the PCs approaching, initially being interpreted as hostile, and then being welcomed into the culture, and then being aided by the seer. And that's where I see a lot of these, neutralize poison, remove curse, heal, freedom of movement. Like, these are all to help the party. Those aren't to help the other Girtablilu. We know that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if you get them into the
I love-
society, there's no reason you can't have a warring society or an evil sect of Girtablilu that are, maybe they've fallen from the grace of Enkidu and they're now all worshipping Desna or Grotus or something like that, or
Sure.
give it the undead tag and make it like a raised from the dead Girtablilu sanctuary.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
I love it. Going back to the Aiel thing from Wheel of Time. I remember there was one group of them that was their whole thing was if they're all kind of, there's a section of each, I think it was each tribe, or there was a whole tribe dedicated to it, but basically if there is a retreat sounded, they take up the rear, so they kind of like become the front line as they're the rear line as they're running away. Like they are there to defend those running, those who are retreating. They are there to stand at the end, kind of thing. And it's a really interesting kind of like role to have, where it's like we have to be the line between the enemy chasing us and those who are running away. And I think it'll be really neat to implement that into these creatures.
Yeah. I mean, do all that. Read Wheel of Time. Join us in the Discord for more nerd shit.
So good.
Yeah. I gotta finish Wheel of Time myself.
You gotta do it. Yeah.
I think that's gonna do it for this episode. It's been an hour 45 on the tape, so let's pull that shit.
You warned me.
A long one. Yep.
Yeah, you did.
If you like this, you want to help us make this, you want to help them be an hour and 45 minutes, you can do that at patreon.com/unchartednorth. $5 a month will get you a handwritten thank you letter, theme button, or if you want to choose what creature we do, maybe you want to hear us do one of those allied guardians that I'm vamping while I scroll up to because this document's so fucking long. Still vamping. Maybe you want to hear us do the Garuda next, or take on the Naga in Pathfinder, because I think we did Naga for 5e.
We did Naugust, yeah.
Naugust, yeah. Maybe we do a 2e Naugust, or that's your ambition. $10 a month will get you there. You can find our merch if you like the compass logo, or if you like our little boy Critty. You can find that at unchartednorth.com/shop. All the socials are where you'd expect the socials to be. The description, they're scrolling below us every now and again, all that stuff. If you want to check out the reading list for this, I would really actually appreciate some eyes in the reading list, because I put a lot of work into this, more so than I do normally outside of our suites. You can do that over at encounterthis.ca. If you're an audio listener, you want to see the video, youtube.com/@encounterpod. If you're a video listener and you can't stand looking at me, it's just available audio too. We got you, fam. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, all the YouTube words, all the podcast words. We love you. Thank you for listening. We're gonna go now.
Do all the things, and don't keep your head buried in the sand.
Yeah, honestly, dude, do join us on Discord. We have a blast over there.
We have a great time there.
Cool community we're building, and we're almost always around. So
good times.
All right, we will see you in the next episode in a couple of weeks, creatures.
See you, friends. Stopping.